Denzel fans, you better be sitting for this one. A little birdie tells us that they're officially filming a sequel to one of his best films. Can you guess which one? Drum roll please. News confirms that Denzel Washington is currently filming the Equalizer 3, and we can't keep calm. Join us in this video as we give you more details on this and rank his best movies of all time, starting with the sequel of one of his best movies. Christmas came early for all Denzel Washington fans. Hollywood's most accomplished director, Antoine Fuqua, has given us blockbusters like Training Day, Shooter, Olympus Has Fallen, and King Arthur. We love that he's worked with one of the most renowned actors of all time, Denzel Washington, on numerous projects. He first directed him in the 2001 film Training Day, then again 13 years later in The Equalizer, then in The Magnificent Seven and The Equalizer 2. Fast forward to now, when Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington have reconnected for a sequel to The Equalizer 3, and according to sources, filming has already started. According to a source who got their hands on production stills of Washington and other cast members filming The Equalizer 3 on the Amalfi Coast, the movie is well on its way. If you remember, the movie is based on a CBS television series that ran from 1985 to 1989. By the way, the channel is now airing a new relaunch of the series, starring Queen Latifah. You might want to catch that too, even though the latest installment's plot hasn't been revealed. The photo stills and the fact that production has started suggest that we'll probably soon learn what will happen to the cast going forward. Next, that's not the only thing to be excited about. Not only are Washington and Fuqua reuniting for The Equalizer 3, but there's also the renowned actor and former child actress Dakota to be excited about. Back in the Tony Scott-directed movie Man on Fire from 2004, Fanning and Washington shared the lead roles. In that movie, Radha Mitchell and Mark Anthony played a wealthy couple who hired burned-out action hero Denzel Washington to guard their daughter in a perilous city where kidnappings were common, even though the focus of the movie was on their connection, in which he evolved into a sort of father figure for the girl. It's unlikely that their characters will have a similar dynamic in this one. The figure of Robert McCall, a former U.S. Marine and DIA intelligence officer who re-emerges into action to defend a young prostitute from the Russian mafia, was presented to a new generation in the first movie in the series. Bill Pullman, David Harbour, Melissa Leo, and Chloe Grace Moretz were also featured in the movie. So we're wondering who's going to be a part of the star-studded cast for the newest offering. We saw Washington make a comeback in the second movie as McCall, who, along with Leo and Pullman, was seeking retribution for the death of a friend. Pedro Pascal also appears in the second movie, but there's no indication that any of the previous actors will be coming back to work in Equalizer 3 yet. Now, there isn't much information about what he'll face in the Equalizer 3 yet, but you can expect that Robert McCall will be searching for the furthest reaches of human violence's capacity to eliminate the worst of the worst. Nearly 20 years later, Dakota Fanning might still need his help, or worse, she might be his enemy. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, here's what we do know about the Equalizer 3 sequel. Let's be real, Denzel beating the bad guys to a pulp is our favorite movie genre. In an interview, Fuqua hinted that the third installment of the action film series might go global, Europe to be specific. The sequel is set to hit theaters on September 1st, 2023, and yes, there's nearly a year-long wait, but it will be so worth it. The Equalizer has always been a success at the box office, earning over $192 million and inspiring a sequel despite receiving some unfavorable reviews. The Equalizer 2, which also starred Pedro Pascal, Ashton Sanders, Melissa Leo, Bill Pullman, and Orson Bean, in addition to Washington, received varying reviews from reviewers, but ended up becoming another great blockbuster with audiences, earning $190 million globally. Now Pullman's ability to re-enter this sequel is difficult, given how that second movie ended up. We're most likely going to see a completely fresh cast, similar to the first two films. Also, the fact that Richard Wenk wrote the script for both the first two films served as another unifying factor. Even though it hasn't been announced yet, we think it would make sense if he's also taken in the Equalizer 3 sequel to tie it all together perfectly. Don't you think so? Now, for some of the best Denzel Washington movies ranked, starting with Cry Freedom at number 7. This is the hardest list we had to make, because 1, how do you choose between perfection? And 2, we've tried our best to not be biased. Cry Freedom has a drama set during the apartheid era, but director Richard Attenborough couldn't quite accomplish for martyred South African revolutionary Steve Biko what he accomplished for Gandhi. But don't hold Washington responsible. Watching him in the role of the famous leader, it's simple to understand why so many people would be drawn to him, and why the authorities would be so afraid of him. His Biko is tremendously captivating, amusing, intellectual, and even bewildering. Why then, do you ask, does this film place so much of its attention on the white journalist who created the original original material. Who knows? But without Washington, the film pretty much dies. Next, at number 6 is The Mighty Quinn. Ignore the connection to Dylan in the title. Washington's Caribbean police chief, Xavier Quinn, is a person who's attempting to determine whether his best buddy, who is accused of murder, is actually at fault. Denzel portrays the epitome of casual professionalism as he deals with dishonest bureaucrats, horrifying crimes, seductive housewives, and his own conflicted loyalties as the plot goes along. This strange, intriguing little film features one of those parts that makes a movie star overnight. Washington's performance in this light, the sensual political drama, is just that. Now, for Crimson Tide at number 5. This was the actor's first film with director Tony Scott, a breathtakingly thrilling story that pits cruel submarine captain Gene Hackman against his sensible, responsible second-in-command. It's arguably their best work together, as this fantastic guy movie pits the orthodox leader versus the selfless, morally upright underdog. The two actors have a great time competing against one another, and director Scott's high style, which plays on the sub's fear of being cramped, perfectly complements all the macho bravados on display. Up next, at number 4, Inside Man. Spike Lee's popular crime film is a love letter to New York, as well as a thrilling criminal drama. Also, it's an unexpectedly potent illustration of Denzel Washington's extraordinary range. A troubled NYPD detective named Keith Frazier tries to broker the release of hostages when a group of crooks takes a bank's worth of people hostage. In reality, the entire film is a series of conversations between Frazier and the criminals, as well as with the small army of observers, elected officials, a mysterious fixer, and through a series of flashbacks, the hostages after they've been set free. He can be a terrible cop, a friend, or respectful, depending on the situation, but despite the increasingly terrible state of affairs around him, he maintains his composure. It's classic Denzel. At number 3, we have Mississippi Masala. Washington plays a resourceful Mississippi carpet cleaner who falls for Sarita Chowdhury's independent-minded Indian immigrant in one of his sexiest performances. The beautiful, genuine romance from Mira Nair puts the passion back in compassion, radiating with empathy and desire. Denzel has a lot of charisma, and he and Chowdhury have fantastic chemistry. He plays his character's transformation from an attractive, suave, and slightly pompous business mogul to a hopeless love with charm. Even their phone calls had us sweating. Moving on to number 2, Fences. The role of Troy Maxson, the imposing patriarch at the center of August Wilson's play about black life in the 1950s, earned Denzel Washington a Tony Award for his performance on Broadway in 2010. When it came to adapt this Pulitzer Prize-winning play for the big screen, Denzel would end up working double time as both an actor and a director. You can see how Washington transforms Wilson's working-class everyman into someone larger than life, from the time he regaled us with a fantastic tale about battling death to a draw. Watching Washington adjust his Troy camera instead of a crowd allows one to witness him live out a fantastic theatrical character. He reveals all the character's victories, tragedies, disappointments, regrets, and moments of joy in ways that are just mwah. Finally, for number 1, none other than Malcolm X. The greatest thing he's ever done in this iconic performance as the murdered civil rights hero in Spike Lee's superb biopic, which follows the man from a small-time hustler to a preacher to a leader to a martyr. At the time, it was difficult to imagine the actor performing in another film following this one because he embraced the role so deeply throughout these transformations. Amazingly though, he was just getting started. That's a wrap for this video. What's your favorite Denzel Washington movie? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see ya at the next one.